Hi, I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. So while searching for more information about Mandalore and other activities that they may have partaken in during the Clone Wars, I came across something very interesting. A clone trooper fighting for the Separatists. And this clone trooper didn't just fight for the Separatists, he was a lot of other things, from a bounty hunter to even a leader among Mandalorian culture. But before we tell his story, if you enjoy what you see here today, why don't you head down below and hit that subscribe button. I upload at least twice a week, covering everything from Star Wars to Halo to Fallout. Before I get into the story, I should note that all of this is Legends, none of this is canon. So this clone trooper was one of the original batch of ARC troopers. We will call him by the name that the Mandalorians gave him, and that is Spar. Spar was unfortunately a defective clone. He was not quite in the same mental state as the rest of the clone army of the Republic. And after raising some of his objections with some of his superiors during the training process, he made the decision to leave Kamino. But that's easier said than done, especially for a clone. Luckily, he was able to call in a favor from none other than Jango Fett, who was able to smuggle him off the planet. Spar would spend a few years taking odd jobs around the galaxy working as a bounty hunter until he found himself on Mandalore. You see, Jango Fett had made himself somewhat of a legend among Mandalorian culture. Not just for killing multiple Jedi, but for the role he played in the start of the Clone Wars. So when a clone of Jango Fett shows up on Mandalore, he's sort of seen as this legend in the flesh. He's treated very well by the people of Mandalore, and eventually has decided that he is the successor to Jango Fett. It's around this time that he's given the name Spar, a name that would stick with him for the rest of his time with the Mandalorians. The Mandalorians would also take the drastic step of naming him the next Mandalore. Specifically, Mandalore of a group that would become known as the Mandalorian Protectors. Now, Spar had become infatuated with Mandalorian culture during his time on Kamino, from what he'd heard from Jango Fett, and from his time as a bounty hunter. He had embraced a heritage that he felt was his, and that's the heritage of a Mandalorian. So he welcomed the idea of being the new Mandalore with open arms, and gladly took the position. He also had adopted Mandalore's distrust and dislike of the Jedi and the Republic, which is what drove him to lead the Mandalorian Protectors to ally with the Confederacy of Independent Systems. While working for the Confederacy of Independent Systems, they would regularly raid facilities on Mandalore and other facilities owned by the Republic around the region. During some of these raids, they were even backed up by straight-up rank-and-file battle droids. That's right, a clone trooper fighting alongside battle droids to attempt to defeat other clone troopers. Their reign of terror in their region of the galaxy was short-lived, however, as they would fall into a trap orchestrated by Palpatine. In an attempt to gain support of some of the systems in the region, he lured this unit into a trap. The Mandalorian Protectors were led to carry out an attack against several key Republic targets. However, when they arrived, the Republic was more than ready to deal with them. The resulting massacre left most of the Mandalorian Protectors dead, and Spar and only a few others survived to slink back to Mandalore. While most of the other survivors would give up on their fight against the Republic, Spar would try to hold on to that fight until the very end of the war. Though he wouldn't carry out any more attacks, he wouldn't step down from his position as Mandalore of the Mandalorian Protectors until the end of the war. We don't know much about what happened to him after that point, but it's assumed that he kind of slinked back into Mandalorian society and lived out the rest of his days. It's kind of interesting to see this little bit of Mandalorian culture, and all of this, by the way, was written before the Clone Wars series kind of told the story of Mandalore during the war. Spar's story is very unique and interesting. It tells a story rather different from anything told in canon or really anything else in Legends. It's very kind of jarring to see one of the clones, who are in general viciously loyal to each other, decide to side with the other faction in the war. But that's just my opinion. Tell me down below in the comments how you feel about the story of Spar. Do you think it's a little crazy, or do you like it? I think it actually kind of fits very well. And if you enjoyed what you saw here today, or you just want more sci-fi discussions, head down below and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.